What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Hey, guys, we are less than a month away from the start of the 2021 season. Today, we are continuing with 2021 team preview predictions, and today we're going to be talking about the UCF Knights. How well will UCF do with the Gus Bus rolling into the bounce house? That's what we're going to be talking about next. Hey, thank you guys so much for the support over the past couple of months. The channel has more than doubled in size. Continue to hit that subscribe button if you are a college football fan. If you are a UCF fan, you can also leave a like, share the video as well. Helps push the video out to as many people as possible. Also, leave a comment down below. You can tell me your thoughts on UCF this year. Just, of course, be mindful of what you say. Be nice to everyone. That is all that I ask. So without further ado, let's talk about UCF in 2021. And the first thing we got to mention is the new head coach, Gus Malzahn. After seemingly disappointing at Auburn over the past couple of years, now coming over to coach this UCF team. And UCF last year, well, wasn't necessarily up to expectations, right? Wasn't necessarily what we've come to expect from UCF. So UCF last year, a little bit of a subpar season in my opinion, and I was expecting kind of more of the same coming into this year. But now after reevaluating this Gus Malzahn hire, looking at the talent they have coming back, what they have coming in through the transfer portal, this is still a very, very solid team, and a team that I think could either be overrated or severely underrated. They're going to go one of two ways this upcoming season. There are a lot of names that I'm about to announce. Usually I only put up 10 or 11, but I felt like UCF had to have more to talk about. So I might talk fast. I'm going to go through these player names fast. Stay with me here. All right, let's go. Starting with players that are leaving. Mackenzie Milton, of course, hasn't played in the past couple of years because of a horrendous leg injury. Should be getting back to play possibly this year, but of course, transfer to Florida State. I thought it was notable that I acknowledge him. Of course, Daryl Mack gone as well. Transferred out this year. Didn't play a whole lot behind Dillon Gabriel as he's remained pretty healthy, but was still a solid option back there. Now UCF going to have to find a new backup quarterback. Otis Anderson, Greg McCray, two running backs that went and declared for the NFL. I believe Otis Anderson has been picked up as a rookie free agent. Not too sure about Greg McCray, but nonetheless, both those guys not on the roster this year. Lots of wide receiver talent leaving UCF as well. You got Jacob Harris, Trey Nixon, and Dillon Gabriel's favorite target last year, Marlon Williams. Don't worry, I have faith in this UCF wide receiver group this year. We'll look at some names here in a little bit. On the defensive side, there was a situation where a car got pulled over and it had 4 defensive UCF players in there. And of course they got charged, whatever. Randy Charlton, Kenny Turnier, both defensive linemen, Eric Mitchell there as well. And then on the defensive back group, I believe his name was Antoine Williams. He's not on this list, just couldn't fit him. But they're all gone. They were all pretty solid pieces on that defense. And UCF losing a lot more defensive backs. Tay Gowan, Richie Grant, and Aaron Robinson. So all those guys were fantastic players. Defensive back position might be a little slim for UCF this year, but hey, it's not about what you lost. It's about what you have. Mentioned his name already, got Dillon Gabriel. How is this guy not talked about enough? He is a fantastic player. In my opinion, very, very close to competing for that #1 quarterback in the American Athletic, which I personally think is Desmond Ridder, but I could see why you think Gabriel would be #1. Slight dual threat quarterback as well. Phenomenal player. The running back position is another tiny concern for UCF. They have some good players. So Bentavious Thompson coming back. He might not even fit into the slotting role. Guys like Isaiah Bowser, transfer from Northwestern, and Mark Anthony Richards, transfer from Auburn, might compete for that #1 running back spot. Ultimately, I think Thompson might get it, but those two guys that I just mentioned there are going to be phenomenal backs for UCF as well. Running game might be a slight concern, though, so watch out for that. Again, not concerned about the passing game at all. Got guys like Jaylon J. Flash Robinson, very fast, very agile kid. He is my number 10 wide receiver coming in to this year. I love Jalen Robinson. You also got Ryan O'Keefe. Some other names transferring in. You got a transfer from Tennessee, among other places as well. Wide receiver position going to be just fine. On the defensive side, Big Cat Bryant, a transfer over from Auburn. So just like Mark Anthony Richards, following their former head coach Gus Malzahn to UCF. Tremont Morris Brash coming back as well as a defensive lineman. Eric Gilliard, a linebacker coming back for UCF this year. That's a big win for this Knights defense. And then on the defensive back group, you got Derek Ganius coming back, but you have a couple transfers that didn't play last year. So Devod Wilson, he was a former player at Georgia, formerly recruited there, and then Jaden Francois, a former recruit of the Nebraska Cornhuskers, coming home to play in his home state of Florida. So both of those guys, very, very good players in their respective. They should give a huge boost to the Knights secondary this year. Again, how good is that secondary is going to be? That is the question for UCF this year. Whew, that was a lot of names. Let's get into looking at the schedule. Here it is for UCF, 6-4 last year, 5-3, in the American Athletic, which put them 4th in the conference. They did end up losing the Boca Raton Bowl to BYU. Hey, you guys know how this works. I'm talking about some games more than others because they're more interesting matchups to me. So if the day gets highlighted in green, it's a win. If it gets highlighted in red, it is a loss. I promise I'll slow down talking from here. So without further ado, can't even speak. Without further ado, let's talk about UCF in 2021. Game 1 of the season. It's a Thursday game against Boise State. So this is a pretty interesting game because I feel like this year UCF is going to struggle against teams that have a good passing attack. At least they're going to have to get into an offensive shootout if that happens. Now with Gus Malzahn at the helm, I don't think that offense takes any sort of steps back. Except if it's maybe on the offensive line. But even then, I think UCF will be just fine. When you look at Boise State, though, they have one of the better wide receivers in the nation as well. His name is Khalil Shakur. He's a very, very good playmaker, was an honorable mention on my top 10 wide receiver list. I think Jalen Robinson is going to be the best wide receiver in the American Athletic this year. When you look at Boise State at the quarterback position, hey, Hank Bachmeier's not that bad either. They got a lot of nice players on the defensive side as well. Although, be it you are losing Avery Williams, that's a pretty substantial loss. He was a nice playmaker, a nice Iron Man athlete to have on your team. This could be a fun game to watch here. But what have I talked about before, right? Home field advantage. We could see the biggest win percentage out of home teams that we have ever seen. And that's why I think UCF wins this game. This could end up being very close, especially with UCF trying to still get some things figured out, as most teams usually do in the beginning of the season. I think this one can be pretty close, but I am going to give the win to UCF because this game is being played in the Bounce House. And then they get to stay at home for a game against Bethune-Cookman. This is just going to be a little bit of a tune-up game, right? They should be able to pretty easily win this game here. UCF, in my opinion, cruises to their second win. Should be able to easily beat Bethune-Cookman. No problems with them there. Then they get to face Louisville Cardinals. So the Cardinals, interesting team. I don't think they're going to do that great this year. Yes, Malik Cunningham is coming back. But last year, when you look, he didn't have a great season at all. The coach is on the hot seat. They're losing a lot of other offensive talent. Javion Hawkins, Tutu Atwell, et cetera, et cetera. Also some guys leaving the defensive side as well. So Louisville, going to be a team that I think is going to struggle this year. I think they're going to struggle mightily. And yes, this game is on a Friday. It is on the road. Going to see some pretty good teams struggle in these scenarios, but I don't think Louisville is going to be that great. So I do have UCF winning this game against Louisville. And then a road game against Navy here. So they do get their bye week between the Louisville and Navy games. Not the best place for the bye week at all, in my opinion. You would want it after the Cincinnati game, before the Memphis game. It's right in the middle of the season, right before what could be your 2 toughest games of the season. But for this game here against Navy, in my opinion, might be the worst armed forces team. And that's no discredit to Navy. They can be a pretty solid team. I just don't think Navy's going to be anything special. After losing Malcolm Perry a couple years ago, they have not been the same. Losing some other guys this year that were good playmakers. Navy, in my opinion, will not win this game. It will be UCF improving to 4-0. Also have UCF improving to 5-0 after they play Eastern Carolina. So Eastern Carolina is a team that, if they get their passing game going, could pose a little bit of a threat here to UCF. Eastern Carolina is no slouch of a team. Granted, they're not a fantastic team by any means, but they're still a pretty solid team. I think Eastern Carolina is more than capable of making a bowl game this year, but how well do they play this game on the road in the Bounce House? I don't think they're going to have too much luck with a team like UCF. So now we get into their 2 toughest games of the season, in my opinion. Boise State game you could throw up there as well, but it starts out on the road against Cincinnati. This is going to be quite the game, right? When you look back to last year, Cincinnati did not give UCF any breaks. In fact, Cincinnati pretty easily won that game. I think it's overlooked how easily Cincinnati won that game. This year, I still don't think people are talking about Cincinnati enough. Granted, I don't think people are talking about UCF enough, but when you look at the Cincinnati team, in my opinion, they have the best quarterback in the American Athletic, one of the best quarterbacks in the nation. His name is Desmond Ridder. Very close between him and Dillon Gabriel for that number one spot of the best quarterback in this conference. I give the slight edge to Ridder, but hey, if you want to put Gabriel up there, I'm not going to argue with you. When you look at Cincinnati, they still have a very good pass game. They also have a pretty good run game. Granted, they're losing some guys this year, but they still have guys back there that can run the football. And then the most notable part about this matchup here, when you compare the two defenses, these two offenses, I'd probably give the slight edge to UCF. But when you look at the defenses, I give the enormous edge to Cincinnati. They have the much better playmakers in every level of the defense, the secondary especially. And I think that is the ultimate sign of who wins this game. What defense plays better? And in my opinion, Cincinnati, I just mentioned, has that better defense, and they have enough offense to win a big game and to outscore a team like UCF. And I think their defense especially steps up, makes some huge plays, forces some turnovers. I think Cincinnati wins this game here against UCF. I just don't see how UCF can win this game. Maybe if it was at home, if it was being played in the bounce house, I might have other opinions. But I do see Cincinnati winning this game here. I think this is going to be a hard one for UCF to win. And then right after that, a short week as they get to come back home, play Memphis on a Friday. This is another one of those 50-50 games for me. Memphis, yes, losing their quarterback. Kenneth Gainwell, I don't believe played last year, but he is still gone as well. But learn the name Calvin Austin. He's a pretty good wide receiver as well. I think he's going to give UCF secondary some troubles here in this game. And all the transfers that Memphis has coming in to fill in those holes, they're all looking really good. Memphis just might be that third best team in the American Athletic. I know a lot of people might say, well, Tulane's going to step up this year. The SMU is not going to take as big of a step back as people think. I think Memphis can be that third best team in the American Athletic this year. Really do believe that. They have some real nice transfers coming in. Yes, the Mike Norvell era has ended, but got to move on from that, right? This is going to be a shootout type game, and whichever team, this is basically first to 50 wins. Literally, that is what this game is going to be. I think UCF will be that first team to 50 points, and I think UCF has the better offense than Memphis, has possibly the slightly better defense. I think they've learned a lot of things after that game against Cincinnati, and they come back home and win a game on their home field. Road game against Temple is up next. Temple's losing their quarterback, Anthony Rousseau, and he wasn't even that great of a player. Now they got to fill in for him. Temple's a team that I don't really like this year. I think UCF wins this game on the road. Coming back home to play Tulane. Again, I just mentioned a lot of people think Tulane is going to take a step up this year. I'm not quite sure what to think about Tulane this year. They've had some solid teams in the past. They're usually right there around the 6-6, 7-5, 5-7 mark. I just don't think that's going to be enough to compete with UCF, so I do have the Knights beating the Green Wave. All right, road game here against SMU. Time to upset some people. I do have SMU winning this game. I do not think it is out of the realm of possibility by any means. Yes, SMU is going to take a step back this year. I don't think it's going to be as big of a step back as some people are predicting. Of course, their quarterback, Shane Buechele, former transfer from Texas, is gone. But now they're getting a transfer from Oklahoma. His name is Tanner Mordecai, and I think he has a lot to prove as well. Spencer Rattler coming in didn't have the best of starts, and they still stuck with Spencer Rattler. Of course, it happened to be the better decision for Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler, a very good quarterback. That's no discredit to him at all. But Tanner Mordecai wants to prove that he can be a starter, and I think going to SMU, he absolutely can do that. I think the passing attack gives some real problems for UCF in this game. I don't know how well they're going to be able to run the football in this game either. I think it's going to be a loud environment, a hectic environment. SMU pulls off the upset against UCF. 2 straight home games to close out the season. Former American Athletic member, UConn, of course, now going over to play in the Big East. So an FBS independent. They'll win this game. UConn is nothing special. Home game against USF, of course, the Friday game to close out the season. I think they win this game as well. Over the past couple seasons, USF has lost a lot. And I don't think they're going to be able to compete with the likes of UCF this year. So, hey, you see 2 games highlighted in red. That means I have the UCF Knights going 10-2 for the 2021 season. 11-1 is a possibility. I can see them beating SMU. I just can't see them beating Cincinnati. I can see their offense doing really well this year. I just don't think their offense is going to be able to do enough against that Cincinnati defense this year. I am a believer in Cincinnati after people have said, okay, Cincinnati was good that one year, right? They won't be good next year. Wow, Cincinnati was good next year. Well, they'll fall off, right? Oh, okay, Cincinnati might have got in the playoff this year. Well, they won't be good. Cincinnati has the best chance to make the college football playoff that any group of 5 team has ever had, maybe except Houston that one year, right? But period, end of story. Cincinnati will be more battle tested once that game comes around. They would have played Indiana, Notre Dame. I don't think UCF is going to be able to win that game, especially with it being on the road. So 11-1, that best case scenario. 8-4, I see as that worst case scenario. Maybe tack on a loss to Boise State. Maybe Khalil Shakur has an enormous game. I could also see them losing to Memphis. Memphis, those transfers look really good. Maybe Memphis is that first team to 50, right? UCF, while they do have a favorable schedule, a lot of their hard games, minus, of course, Cincinnati, are at home. They still got to go on the road and play some tricky ones. Who knows? Louisville might get them. SMU, I'm predicting an upset there. But UCF avoids playing Houston. And I think that is huge because I think Houston's going to take some big steps up this year as well. But for me, UCF loses 2 games, but both of them happen to be on the road. That's going to do it for my UCF preview prediction for the 2021 college football season. If you guys enjoyed, like, subscribe, share the video as well. Tomorrow, we're going to be looking at the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Remember to play hard, but tailgate harder. Texas Tech on the chopping block tomorrow. Goodbye.